What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am your host, Reckless Rexx Ruger. That is, of course, my silent sidekick, the Freddie Mercury puppet. The teeth are out. He's excited. I'm excited. We got another great episode of Pod Scum. I am, as I said, your bastard of ceremonies, Rexx Ruger, a.k.a. the king of sleaze, a.k.a. the son of glam, a.k.a. the hair metal high priest, and most importantly, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Take a look, folks. Search your feelings. You know it to be true, and the DNA testing will prove it very soon that you are looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band, adored by millions of fans, the peanut butter to your jam. Wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wop, Boppa, Loo, Boppa, Wop, bam, bam, shazam, hot damn. Whoo! I look like the man. I sound like the man. I mean, come on. Look at that smoldering, if you can see in my screen there, the smoldering look that only the son of a legend could offer up to you. I mean, come on. If this isn't, and of course, you're looking at also the coif of Roth, and you might ask how I get that. Boom. Little product placement, folks. You want that David Lee Roth rock style frontman hairdo, and you want to contribute to the hole in the ozone layer, as Dimebag Darrell would say, get you some. Or I think he actually used to say, get your pull. But you could probably also get a pull off of Aquanet if you're into huffing. I don't know. Don't do that, kids. That's my disclaimer for the day, man. Got another phenomenal episode coming up. I'm excited. Freddie Mercury's excited, man. I don't know what else to say, man. Let me give myself a look because this is another front man coming in here, and I will not be outdone on my own show. No one's going to out-glam me. No one's going to out-front man me. And as usual, your boy Rexx Ruger is looking primo. But when am I not, folks? But I digress. Another great episode before my guest gets on here. Never mind, he's already here. So shut up, Rexx, and let's get down to it. This, of course, is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rexx Ruger. And tonight is going to be no different. Let's do it. Parker Griggs. There he is.
Hey, how's it going?
That's the guy. That's the guy right there. We had him and we lost him.
Oh, I'm back.
There you go, man. Yeah, every once in a while the camera goes in and out. Sometimes, you know, when you're doing podcasting, man, you're basically at the beck and call of technology, man, and it's awful.
Indeed.
You know, the struggle is real, man. The struggle is so. Listen, man. First of all, before you came on here, man, I was trying to really rack my brain and think. You're an Iowa guy, correct?
I'm in Iowa right now. Yeah.
And you're born and raised in Iowa. Are there other great? All I could think of was Slipknot. Are there other great musicians from Iowa? Do you know your Iowa music history?
Yeah, Slipknot's the big one that came out, but there's not a ton that came out.
Yeah,
Kind of
I can only think of you and
Parkland.
Slipknot right now. I was gonna do a quick Wikipedia dive, and then all of a sudden you were on here, man. So I was like, oh, scratch that. I guess I'm just gonna ask him and see if he knows.
Yeah, I mean, Buddy Holly died here, but
Yeah.
that's one thing we got.
Oh, that's right. You've got the day the music died. That's right. Yeah, that's Iowa. That's right. I always forget that, man. So I want to ask right off the rip, man. First of all, I love Radio Moscow, man. Awesome band, man. But you're doing the El Perro thing right now, and I might be saying that wrong. I'm going to ask for a quick definition. Do you know what the hell El Perro means?
It just means the dog.
The dog, okay. Because I just looked it up before we got on this interview, and I seem to get a few different definitions. But dog seemed to be the most common one. The dog.
Yeah, because dogs are good creatures.
Awesome creatures, yeah. In a lot of ways, I like them more than human beings, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Live on a farm with a bunch of dogs. That's my future, I think.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it, man. You know what? You'll probably be very peaceful. So fans would probably want to know, man. Is Radio Moscow though hasn't necessarily gone anywhere though because you've got another project, correct?
Well, I'm focusing on this for now and working on the next El Perro album right now, actually, and just really trying to get that going. But maybe one day I'll bring back Moscow. Just my mind's in a different place with this new band and slightly different direction with different members and stuff, and really pulled together a nice lineup. So trying to move forward and keep touring with these guys.
So if I can backtrack a little bit and go back to the beginning and chop it up, man, how did you get into music, man? Was there a specific album or an artist or a song that kind of sparked this journey for you?
Well, what kind of got me into this style big time was like Peter Green.
Yeah.
Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, the early stuff. When he led the band, that his guitar playing really changed my direction musically.
Yeah.
And I was really into MC5 and Blue Cheer early on, and that got me into the obscure kind of heavy psychedelic rock stuff. And
yeah,
but then for El Perro, it's got a lot more into more funky and soulful psychedelic soul psych funk stuff.
Yeah. Kind of you can hear it in the music too, and I even saw music critics and then journalists even say on there, even tinged with some Latino flavor as well.
Yeah,
I could hear it. I had to go back and listen to it. When I saw that, I was like, let me go and try to pick that out, man. But it does kind of have that fused in there.
Yeah, with the percussions and really influenced by some of the more obscure late 60s, early 70s albums that were bands influenced by Santana, like Maconda and some other stuff with Santana vibes. But yeah, like that kind of more groovy, dancey stuff.
And when you're gonna write music, man, like either by yourself or with a band, like do you have a specific creative process? Like I talked to obviously tons of musicians on here. Creative types seem to do all kinds of different things. That there's people that go sit in a room and kind of sequester themselves away and focus on writing music. I get a lot of people they get a lot of ideas in the car, oddly enough, or at their day job or whatever. For you, when you're gonna create music, like what's your process like? You getting ideas throughout the course of the day?
Yeah, it kind of starts with guitar riffs, just messing around guitar, come for the riff, and then build it up on a 4-track machine. And I don't know, I start with the riff, then do drum parts, record drums first, then overdub bass and guitars and vocals, and it all just kind of comes together on my recording machine at home. But yeah, just mainly comes together from a guitar riff at the start, and then a drum beat, and building it all up together from there.
And then what about the lyrical approach, man? Like when you're actually going to write lyrics, man, you got to kind of lock yourself away and force yourself to write, or is shit coming to you throughout the day?
Kind of throughout the day, and if you think of something, thinking of the song, then write it down so you don't forget. And I guess with the cell phone, you always have the notes in there, so you can go in there and put down lyrics. But yeah, just sitting around, maybe if you're riding on the train or going somewhere, think of something, just put it down, and then get home and think of a melody and work it together.
And when I was putting my bullet points together and stuff to talk to you about, man, I was trying to gather some information. So when you started out solo, I'm curious where this name came from. Garbage Composal?
Just because it was like I was composing garbage. I don't know.
That's not a raving endorsement.
Yeah. It was pretty raw garage rock stuff, so I thought it kind of fit the sound of the music.
Yeah. No, I dig it. It's just like I get fascinated sometimes on like where people like pull the actual like name for like a project sometimes. You know what I mean? Like because obviously anything that's artistic can be so subjective that we can put our own meanings on shit. You know what I mean? Like I kind of figured it was something like that. But like the other day, like I had I don't know if you're familiar with the doom metal band. They're a band called Lie Heavy. And Carl Agell is the singer. He used to be in Corrosion of Conformity back in the day. Mm-hmm. And he's got a new band right now called Lie Heavy. And I was like, where does that come from? And I got the idea that I knew what it meant. And then when he said it, it was kind of what I thought, you know what I mean? Like when something really is weighing on you, you know what I mean? Like it lies heavy on you. And I'm like, oh, that's a good band name. You know, that was the meaning I was hoping it would be.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a little deeper too.
Yeah. It's kind of deep and cerebral. Yeah. But, so much has changed you know, in the music world over the last 20, 30 years, man, literally seismic changes, man. That a lot of people have to go out. Obviously, I talked to a lot of musicians on here. It's so feast or famine, man, and they got to hit the road, be on the road a lot. Hope to fucking peddle some merchandise or whatever, man. Where do you stand on like touring, man? Like, are you somebody that's able to go out and tour? Are you kind of tethered to a day job where it's hard for you to get away for a long amount of time?
I'm still no, I'm just doing the music thing, but I wish I was touring a lot more. It's kind of slowed down since COVID still.
Yeah.
And mainly focusing on Europe now too, because the band's pretty much all European guys right now.
Yeah.
So it's also, you can't oversaturate that place too much. So yeah, I'd like to be on the road a lot more right now, just trying to figure out how to book more tours in the future. But right now it's mainly focused in Europe, and when I'm not doing that, I'm at home and trying to work on the next album now. But yeah, that's need to be out touring more. I might have to start flipping some gear or something on the side. I don't know.
Oh man, we don't want it to come down to that, man. I mean, so people can just maybe get in contact with you on Cash App and send you money to come play their backyards. Are we at that point yet?
No, that'd be tough with the band all being in Europe, but
yeah, that would be tough. Bar mitzvahs, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely just want to be out there more, but
yeah,
trying to figure some more tours in the States again is just tough with the band. Part of them are in France and Spain and in the East Coast.
Why all European artists? How does an American-born bred artist, you know, make that connection with the European? Is it just being out on tour and out on festivals and just meeting other musicians?
Yeah, I guess just kind of from years of this little scene, I've known about these guys and sort of cherry picked some of my favorite guys out there and who I thought would do the best job and could be able to really jam with. And it turned out working out really well, and they were down to join. And that's kind of my favorite dudes that I've jammed with were over there. And I was living in Switzerland too, so it was easy to just do the whole thing out there. Had a practice space people were loaning us to use and everything. And I don't know, it was a lot easier than finding those type of musicians here in Iowa or something.
Yeah. I love that though, man. You know what I mean? Like a lot of guys, man, are in bands like with their friends or with guys that they grew up with, man. But just to really say, hey, I want to go out and just find fucking guys that I can put together the most kick-ass band with, regardless of where they're from. You know what I mean? Because I was wondering how you make that connection. You're an Iowa guy, and yet you surround yourself with European musicians. I remember seeing the late Mark Lanigan in an interview once, and he had that same deal, man. He had an all-European band.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good scene out there. A lot of good players too. And
yeah,
more opportunities for us to play out there at the moment. So turned out pretty well with these dudes. Pretty stoked.
Let me ask your opinion on this because you're a musician, and this is something that's been kind of topical in the last couple of years. When you see these legendary bands take the stage, and I'm more addressing this question to you as a music fan. I'm assuming you like to go out and listen to live bands and watch music just as much as play it. When you go out to a show and you get these bands of maybe a legendary status that are going out there, and I'm not a musician myself, so I'm just going on what I've seen on the internet, but they're beefing up their sound with these backing tracks or smoke and mirrors type tricks or whatever. If you're a fan and you go see a live band, are you okay with that? Or would you rather see the authentic warts and all, so to speak? You know what I mean? Like even if they fuck up or don't sound as great.
Yeah, definitely the true sound is the best, just the organic sound of the band. And I really like the 60s and 70s stuff where you could just hear how the band sounded. So I prefer hearing it how it should sound. And yeah, definitely just organic like that, the old school way.
Yeah, and I know 60s and 70s albums, man, like a lot of times when they were recording albums, man, if there was a fuck up, man, they'd leave it in there.
And sometimes you hear something weird, super obvious.
Yeah. That's how you knew it was raw and real, though, man. The fact that you could actually hear these guys, man, as legendary as they are, still fucking up, and they're just saying, hey, it happens, leave it in there. It's organic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool. That doesn't happen now too much.
So you're basically so for right now, anybody that's into Radio Moscow, man, for now you feel like that's to a certain extent taking a back seat. Would you call it on a hiatus? Would you call it never say never, or a project you'll get back to?
Yeah, never say never. I mean, I might try that again, but I think for the next couple of years, I want to develop this band and see where it goes. And, there always might be like some anniversary tours or maybe another album, but I definitely want to put the next few years on the next El Perro album and tours and keep developing this band. It's been a kind of a breath of fresh air to play all new stuff and something a little more groovy with some really rad dudes that I can jam well with. So trying to keep this going for a bit, see what happens.
Is there at all with the European musicians? Is there at all? I'm just curious now. Is there a language barrier, or are these guys that speak English relatively well?
They speak it well for the most part, but
yeah, because I always consider
all the
music its own language. I'm sure when you guys get together and actually play, man, the music is in and of itself its own language.
Yeah, indeed. It's just the way we jam, it works out real well, and we all have kind of different accents, and we have a little trouble with some words, but it's funny and all works out really well.
Yeah.
Makes things interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome seeing cultures come together too, man, because they probably bring, a certain element of a sound that they've, honed, being European musicians, that an American musician, just even if he wanted to, just couldn't tap into. We just don't have it like they do. I mean, European born and bred and raised. I mean.
Yeah, for example, the bass player is super into flamenco, and that's like a whole different thing you don't find over here.
Yeah.
Always playing flamenco in the van.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. I mean, what's wrong with rock having a little fucking flamenco, man? Right?
Good stuff. Some crazy playing.
Well, I like that your general attitude towards music, like, kind of seems to be like no rules is good. You know what I mean? Like, anything to make the sound like more eclectic, you seem to be pretty open to. So,
yeah, I do like mixing different kind of worldly styles, and I like Turkish sounds, Middle Eastern sounds, funky sounds, but always with the kind of psychedelic rock background.
Yeah.
But throwing all that in there makes for some pretty cool stuff.
And now getting back to the touring thing, though, you said you'd like to be on the road more. But after you've done this for quite a while, is it still the same charge, going out on tour, or as you get older, do you start to? I mean, I'm 51 years old. I know that I'm a homebody, man. I don't like to be away from my creature comforts for very fucking long. You know what I mean? I start to get, I don't know. I mean, you still like kind of a nomadic existence when you're out there traveling,
Yeah. It's been back and forth. I've actually more like 10 years ago, I was kind of getting sick of touring. And then the last tour I went on, I didn't want it to stop. I was having a great time and really liked going to new places every day. And band was really vibing well, so it was kind of no stress, no drama, and so I didn't want that tour to really end. But yeah, a while ago I used to kind of want to go home, and now it's sort of changed. Now I get bored at home and want to go back on the road more.
Yeah I mean, I've been married 26 years, man, so I'm ready to go on tour. You can come and fucking take me anytime, man.
Yeah.
I need a break.
Ding dang, yeah. We need a merch guy or a driver.
Yeah, hook me up, man. So, but I want to get to the story of really kind of what launched you, man. Like, you got, for people that don't know, man, like, you got a demo or a recording into the hands of the guy from the Black Keys.
Yep, that was probably like 2006, I think, and just went to a show and gave a demo to the t-shirt merch guy, and he passed it on to Dan, and Dan actually called me back that night and said he really dug it, really helped me out, brought me to his home studio in Ohio and produced the first album, and did it all for free and stuff just because he was stoked on the band. So he really helped out in the beginning and helped me get a record deal with Alive Records. That was cool. That
Oh,
was just slightly out of high school, or yeah, a little bit out of high school in Iowa. So it's cool to kind of get that break and get a chance to take the music out of Iowa a little bit.
yeah. And you know, I always hear a lot, and I can't make the claim that I'm by far, you know, the biggest fan or have the most knowledge, man. But Black Keys really seem to be a band that I always see getting highly praised and touted by music critics, man. For people that don't know, man, you know, I mean, because obviously this guy really helped you know, kind of somewhat launch your career, man. What's your opinion of what they do musically, the Black Keys?
I mean, honestly, I dug their early stuff a lot more.
Yeah.
When they started out, they're more of a raw blues band, kind of blues rock band. But yeah, I was more of a fan of the early stuff. It seems like it got a little more polished.
Yeah.
But I think that's what a lot of people want to hear, though, the more polished stuff. But I like the raw stuff.
Like a little grit in there. Yeah. Get a little grit in there.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I'm curious to ask you then, man, you know, before we get to some more questions about the band, man, I want to ask you personally, man, because I think this is an answer you'll have a very definitive opinion on. For you, what would be your Mount Rushmore of all-time musical artists? I mean, this is strictly subjective. These are your 4 greatest of all time.
Ah, dang. But definitely early Funkadelic has had a huge impact on El Perro, and just love Eddie Hazel's guitar playing.
Yep.
It's Eddie Hazel and early Funkadelic for sure. Definitely Peter Green.
Yep. So we're putting Fleetwood Mac era Peter Green on there. Okay.
Yeah. Before the whole Stevie Nicks stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I gotcha.
Oh, dang. There was a not too well known San Francisco psych band called Mad River, and
okay,
their album, that one's one of my top ever. Something about that album's just crazy. It's really unique songwriting and kind of dark and spooky and weird and kind of ahead of its time and really intense emotions. That one's a real cool album.
So we're 3/4 of the way to a Mount Rushmore. We're almost there.
Ding dang, that's tough.
Well, at least thank God, while you're thinking about it and rolling it around, at least thank God I'm not hearing the Beatles, which I got nothing against the Beatles, but they seem like they're everybody's gateway to music. You know what I mean? And I'm not giving them their props, but it seems like whenever I ask anybody who their Mount Rushmore of greatest bands of all time is, the Beatles are always one of them.
Yeah, I was never a big Beatles guy.
Me neither.
I was like the other, love everything from that era, but the Beatles were never one I even liked that much. Some people
I'm glad. Hopefully some people can fucking finally give you some shit in the comment section and not just me, man. See, another guy that just doesn't get the fucking me. I'm not enamored with him either, man. I just don't get it, man. I honestly, man, and maybe people will beat the shit out of me in the comment sections, or maybe they won't, man, but still, I just don't understand the buzz with the fucking Beatles, man. I don't think they're God's gift. I listen and I'm just not blown away.
I agree with you. It's hard to say that because some people have wanted to fight me over that.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, them's fighting words right there, man. Fucking saying that you don't get the Beatles, but I don't know. Well, because there was always this misconception that you know that you either had to be a Beatles or a Stones guy, but you almost like couldn't be both. You know what I mean? And I guess if you gun to my head, then I'm a Stones guy.
Yeah, me too. If I had to, had to choose, but I'd actually say a million other bands from the '60s before those ones.
Yeah, like who's that one band from the '60s, man, that you just fucking really love?
Well, dang, there's just tons of those one-off albums that are really great.
Yeah,
like guys like Randy Holden, his solo album, and Power of Zeus had a great one album, Disappeared, and of course Blue Cheer.
Blue
Pretty
Cheer,
nice.
yeah. I can hear elements of that in your music. I can also hear a lot of Cream. I hear a lot of Cream in Radio Moscow anyway.
Yeah, I was never super into Cream, but I liked all the little bands that ripped them off maybe more.
Yeah, plenty of those. Yeah, Eric Clapton's an easy guy to rip off. Like he's probably been ripped off quite a few times.
Yeah, but or, like Jeff Beck, that guy's huge too. Love his playing, his album.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah. What about modern guitar players, man? Like, who would you put like on like a modern guitar list, man? I mean, you know, who's that guy right now that's flying the flag for great guitar players, man, that you enjoy as from a fan standpoint? You know, enjoy their playing. I mean, we know we got tons of legends, man. Some of the guys you're mentioning, and we're talking about Hendrix and Clapton, all these guys, man. But is there anybody now playing guitar that is exciting?
Yeah, I'm so stuck in the past, and it really seems like a lot of people stop caring about guitar like they used to, at least in the 70s. But there's still a handful of really great dudes out there. I mean, I'd have to say it, like the guy I got in El Perro, he's one of my favorites. Dorian, he's great guitar player. And
there
then
you go. Give him a shout out. Dorian who?
Dorian Sora.
Okay. Hey man, if the guy's great, we got to get his name out into the ether, man. We speak his name.
Yeah, he's great. He came from the Blues Pills before, and then he's doing his solo kind of psychedelic folk stuff, which is really awesome too.
Yeah.
He's a great acoustic and electric player. So he's one of my favorites out there right now. And then just randomly, we were playing in Italy, and this guy named Little Albert opened up a show, and he was mind-blowingly good. That was one of the best dudes I've seen play in a while.
Blues guy?
Yeah, kind of blues rock, but I guess he also plays in some other bands that are a little heavier.
So is it hard for you from a fan standpoint? Like if you're going to sit down and listen to music and you're not playing it, but you're listening to it, you know, in a sense that you're enjoying it from a fan standpoint, do you always fall back on like older music, man? Or do you ever, do you find yourself getting into any new bands? Because I know I'm a little stuck in my ways. If I'm cleaning around the house or I'm listening to music, man, I seem to fall back on a lot of old shit, you know, comfortable shit.
Yeah, I've kind of just got a main era I listen to, kind of 65 to 75, those 10 years. And
yeah,
got a record collection mainly from that. And there are some new bands I dig, but it's just a whole different sort of sound from then, and a little harder for me to get into. I don't know what's up with my ears, but they're sort of just stuck in the past. But there's a handful of new bands out there doing it, but if I'd like them, they usually sound like they're in the past. They're not like sounding bands.
And it's intentional, right? I mean, you know, you're kind of you guys are kind of shooting for that raw, dirty sound, though, which is nice.
Yeah, that's just how the influence are, and try to have it come out pretty real, how it is.
Now, what do you notice the big difference is? Because Radio Moscow, for people that don't know, was more or less like a power trio. You know what I mean? Like in the vein of like you know, like a Nirvana. You know, 3 guys or whatever. Now you beefed up the sound by a couple more members. How many are in El Perro? Is there 5 of you?
It's a 5-piece. Now
yeah. So now you beat the sound up by 2 members, man. Like what's the difference in your mind? Like, what do you hear going from a trio to now a 5 guys?
Well, the percussion thing's had a real cool element. We got a guy doing timbales, congos, bongos, tambourines, maracas, all sorts of those things. And just having the variety of all those different percussion sounds is really nice. And he's a really great drummer too. So he's really solid with our drummer. And it almost kind of sounds like we have 2 drummers, but not as busy, and more variety with the percussion. So it's really nice with the percussion there. It fills in tons of gaps. And then the second guitar, it's real cool. The guy I mentioned earlier, Dorian, he's doubling up on leads and stuff sometimes, and it just really adds a thicker guitar sound, and we can also have more interplay and improv and do more stuff back and forth and more room to expand live.
So the last Radio Moscow album, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, was New Beginnings in 2017, right? That was the last one.
Yeah, I guess it's been a little while.
Yeah. So, well, hey, I mean, nowadays, man, bands taking a lot of time off in between albums is not all that unheard of. I mean, it's not cheap. It's not cheap to make an album, and especially with the way the business has changed.
Yeah, but also was just kind of focusing on the new band too.
Yeah. Well, did you see? Obviously, if you're involved in music, you must have seen like the rest of us, who have any kind of a brain, saw that streaming was going to be inevitable, man. When you see musicians, and I talk to so many of them on here, man, that are out there, as I said before, scratching and clawing on the road, trying to sell merch or whatever, man. I mean, nowadays bands really are out there because they love it, man. You know what I mean? Because nobody's certainly getting rich unless you're Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? It seems like it's a really tough go of it right now, man. It just seems like it's daunting right now to be a musician.
It's definitely different, a lot different than just 10 years ago. But I don't know what else to do, and it's still fun once you get out there and play the shows. And luckily in Europe, crowds are still nice. There's still a good scene going on, but it is a bit slowed down for sure, and record sales and everything have slowed down, and just kind of, I don't know, it's a different world. But
Europe seems to be a country that still gets live music, though, man. And I would almost dare to say, being an American myself, man, the Europeans actually know their music and have much better festivals and really got their shit together sometimes more than we, the American audience, do.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like it now. The festival scene still going real strong, and
yeah,
a lot of people still going out. And I honestly don't really see any of that happening out here the same way it's happening there.
Right.
There's a few scattered festivals out here.
Smart to get those European guys. They know how to do it, man.
Yeah. Glad they're still doing it, because there's a few people out here, but it's just a handful of fests compared to tons of festivals out there, sort of.
Is there something the business could have done, though, man, to get it right, man, to get you guys a little more, to make it a little more profitable for musicians, man? Like, what could the record labels or the industry have done, man? We obviously, like I was making the point earlier, we saw streaming was coming on down the pike, man. But, is there a way that they could have harnessed it and gotten a hold of it and made it more profitable, man, for artists?
I don't know. I don't think they were too worried about it, maybe.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense. They weren't worried about it.
Yeah, the artists kind of always seem to be last in the equation sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, most of the time, I think. Yeah, I mean, you hear nightmare stories, though, about bad record deals, and I mean, getting ripped off. I mean, it was a pretty common story back in the day.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Yeah,
they kind of take advantage of the fact that they don't know the business side, maybe.
Right. Yeah. So
confusing. So business out there.
Yeah, it's extremely confusing, man. And I mean, especially if you're a young artist jumping in to be a musician nowadays. I mean, if you were able to give a pep talk to the 16-year-old version of you right now, knowing what you know, man, would you encourage that kid to become a musician?
Dang, that's a tough question. I don't know. Because it is a tough job, and you have to pour everything into it, and then you end up missing out on maybe a bit of a personal life and things like that, because you're on the road all the time. And these days, how it's going, it's hard to say. But if it's your passion and it's what you want to do, of course, try to make it work. But it's not the easy job.
Now, do you enjoy in your band, like, you don't see every front man do this, man, but you pull double duty and sing and play guitar, man. Did you ever think, like, when you went from your guitar playing is amazing, certainly taking nothing away from that, man, but did you ever think of going from a 3-piece to a 5-piece and not focusing as much on singing and playing guitar, or are you just one of those guys that just feels right having the guitar?
Yeah, definitely got to play the guitar still.
Yeah.
So I'm writing all the parts, and it needs to have kind of 2 guitars too, to have the interplay back and forth. And
Yeah.
but also with the new stuff too, I'm trying to play some Hammond organ on there.
Oh, nice.
So having the extra guitar really is nice for jumping on some organ too at times and things like that.
Yeah, I like the fact that you're adding some organ in there, man. The organ is often forgotten about in the mix of music, or just any kind of keys in general sometimes.
Yeah, the organ used to be in tons of bands, and now not so much at all.
Yeah, I always think back to like Steve Winwood, man. He was rocking that Hammond organ early on, man. Spencer Davis, and yeah, he made it sound good.
This is the same one he used right there.
Oh, that's my guy. I love Steve Winwood, man. My father grew up, man. My father got me growing up on a lot of Steve Winwood, and he's often like a guy, man. I'm such a fan, man. He was in such great groups, man, but I feel like he doesn't necessarily get his flowers as much as a lot of other legends do. You know what I mean? Like, you don't hear him talked about in the same breath, man. I equate him like right there with any music legend alive.
Yeah, he was sweet.
Yeah, he stepped into a lot of great bands, Blind Faith, and he was in a lot of great shit, man. Spencer Davis, and then he had that awkward part, man, where I remember seeing a special and his manager talking about that awkward part in the '80s when he went solo and kind of had to do more poppy stuff, and you could tell he wasn't really comfortable doing it.
Yeah, the '80s. Yeah, the '80s was kind of awkward for a lot of '60s musicians.
Yeah. A fun time, but I mean, well, there wasn't a lot of great music. There was a lot of great music being made in the '80s, man, but it was a lot of style over substance back in the '80s,
Yeah. Definitely the recordings were less organic and more
about looks and hairspray, all that stuff. The hair metal, the hair metal era. Did you like any of that stuff back in the day, man? Like, I mean, I know you say that your record collection is mostly 65 to 75, man. Are there any other genres that you really particularly enjoyed? Like, not even just hair metal, but like when the grunge scene came around, were you a fan of that?
Yeah, not so much the hair metal stuff, but as a kid, the grunge, I was definitely affected by that.
Yeah.
Got me into playing music originally, I guess. Playing the drums and guitar, was really into Nirvana, and I guess even Silverchair was a big one.
Oh yeah, Silverchair. Yeah. Those dudes were like
Nirvana.
Kids. Yeah, those dudes were like kids, like literally kids when they started.
Yeah, I think 15, 16. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing, man. That's mind-blowing. So so the last El Perro album, if I look at my notes, Hair of, that was in 2019, man. So do you have a timeline on like when you'd like a new album to be out? Should we expect it end of this year, beginning of 2025?
Hopefully beginning in 2025. And yeah, still got to finish some songwriting and figure out the recording, but definitely next year is the goal.
Yeah. And is there a right answer for you as far as like the format to put music out on? Because it seemed like around COVID, we saw a lot of bands almost afraid to be forgotten about, you know what I mean? And you saw a lot of people releasing singles and short bodies of work, EPs, things of this nature. When you put out music, do you like it to be a fully realized, full-length album?
Yeah, it's nice to do the full thing, kind of.
Yeah.
Just put out a full piece of work with the kind of overall vibe and everything.
Yeah, I prefer it too.
Yeah. I try to keep going that way.
How many
You know,
songs? How many songs is the right answer nowadays for an album? Because it seems like people's deep tracks get sometimes passed over completely, man. People just don't look for the good shit no more. You know what I mean? They skip around to like one or two tracks that they like, and it really fucking sucks. You know, I don't think albums are meant to be listened to that way.
yeah, yeah. It's nice when it flows all the way through.
Yeah.
Try to write an album where nobody wants to skip anything, but I think having 8, 9 songs is nice. Maybe a couple long ones, a
Yeah.
couple shorter ones.
Got to reel them in while you got their attention. Jesus Christ, people can't pay attention for shit nowadays.
Yeah,
Sit down and listen to an hour-long album. Oh my God! Without looking in their phones, how could they possibly do it? You know.
dang, yeah,
You know, but when you really think about albums, though, and I've said this on here before, it almost feels like as an artist, every album in your mind must be a conceptual album, you know what I mean, or a concept album, because you've arranged them. You have a cohesion in a way that you want it to flow, and a certain cadence to it of how to listen to it. You know what I mean? It's almost like every album essentially, is telling a story. Like you wouldn't sit down and just think, I'm going to put Pink Floyd The Wall on and skip around or listen to a couple. You go for like the whole journey.
yeah,
Or you should.
yeah. It's nice, especially when albums like that really hold your attention, or like Captain Beyond album really flows great.
Yeah.
Or Quicksilver, Messenger Service, Happy Trails.
Just albums you can put on and just, you don't want to move the needle. You just want to take the ride all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few ones like that. Peter Kelly, Dylan Blues, and there's a nice handful, but there's a lot of albums too that you need to skip through and find the best ones.
Yeah. Now, journalists and music critics have even suggested that you guys have elements of blues in your music. Is that accurate? Are you a fan of any blues artists? Traditional blues artists, I guess.
Yeah, I like the old blues stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all great stuff. I really like the sounds of it. It wasn't maybe a huge influence, but definitely the 60s blues rock and British blues was maybe more of an influence.
Yeah.
But
what's going on with the rock? Are you a fan of these? Like when you see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ballots come out, man. I just saw the one for next year, and by no means do I mean any disrespect to any of the nominated artists, man. But it is becoming a bit of a joke.
I didn't see who it was, but
I don't know, but a lot of it when I looked at the ballot, and I would be paraphrasing right now, man. I'm not gonna lie, full disclosure, always honest on the podcast. I've downed a couple of edibles, man. So my memory might not be as good, and I don't want to say for sure anybody that's on the ballot, man. But let's just say I remember reading it and not feeling like it was very rock and roll. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, I agree. The rock and roll is at a strange state right now. I don't know. People are getting farther and farther away from music I enjoy these days in the mainstream. I don't know. But it seems kind of like the last big boom was the grunge stuff, and that was a while ago. I don't know. Maybe there has been, but I've been stuck in the underground. But
Well, as you were sitting there talking, I was looking up the people here that are potentially nominated. And since I have you on here, man, and you are a very serious musician, I would consider somebody, who takes their craft very seriously. I'll go over like a few of these, and I don't know. You can tell me deserving or not deserving. Cher, where do you stand on Cher being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? She's on the ballot.
oh yeah, dang yeah, that's
Deserving?
well, Cher's cool, but it's not exactly rock and roll, but
Yeah.
pop.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man. Okay, so where do you stand on the Dave Matthews Band being nominated? Deserving?
Not my favorite band, no.
Not my cup of tea either, man. Maybe another one we're gonna get beat up on, man. I mean, seems like we're racking them up in this episode, man. I mean, the Beatles, and now we're gonna desecrate the mighty Dave Matthews Band.
It's just not my cup of tea, and I think rock and roll's got better things.
Yeah.
But
How about Foreigner?
I don't know. Foreigner was cool. Actually, I never
Well,
listened.
they're on the ballot. They're on the ballot as well. How about Frampton? Peter Frampton.
Oh, he was sweet. He was in Humble Pie.
Unbelievable, man. It would seem like he'd be a guy that would already be in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That one album he did was pretty huge.
Ozzy Osbourne's nominated to go in.
He's not in yet?
Amazing, right? I mean,
Dang.
yeah, it would seem like he should be, right?
Yeah, he should definitely be in there by now.
And then we've also got then we've got a couple of confusing bands, which I have nothing against soul music and or hip hop music, man. But it almost seems like then you got to start to give every genre their own Hall of Fame, dude. Because then you've got Kool and the Gang and A Tribe Called Quest. Now, Kool and the Gang is more like a pop group, you know.
Yeah.
And A Tribe Called Quest is a legit hip hop group, man. You know, I mean, doesn't seem right.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, a little different from rocker. Yeah, and then last but not least, Jimmy Buffett. I mean, how could you not have a Hall of Fame without Jimmy Buffett?
Oh yeah, he needs to be in there.
I don't know. Have you seen any of these videos floating around of Frankie Valli out on tour these days?
No.
You got to go on Facebook and or on the social media sites and just type him in as of late, a music legend, but well into his 90s, man. And it literally looks like he comes out there and is just completely effortless. I think that's the joke. Just does nothing but stand there, and you can almost tell it's almost comical at this point that he looks like he's lip syncing the lyrics, but his lips are barely moving. I mean, he's not even making a quality attempt to lip sync the stuff. Phoning it in. Literally, that would be the definition of phoning it in.
Dang.
Literally. Yeah. Taking people's hard-earned money to give them that.
Do, I guess.
I guess, man. I guess that's what you got to chalk it up to, man. So early 2025, you feel like a new El Perro record. And do you have any details, anything you can tell us other than that you like being in the 8 or 9 song vicinity? Are you able to tickle us with a feather about anything? Any album names, any titles, anything?
Oh dang, I don't know.
I don't want you to divulge anything that you shouldn't. I'm just asking.
Well, I don't know. It might be some. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess like I mentioned before, I'll try to be doing some more Hammond organ, so it'll have a little more new instrumentation on it. And
Okay.
I don't know. It's just I think it's off to a pretty solid start. I think it should be a fun one as long as we find the right studio, and kind of gone crazy with years since the last album. So as long as we find the right studio, it should be able to make some pretty crazy noises onto recording.
And is the plan after it's out to go on tour, man? I mean, like a full-blown legit tour?
Yeah, and even before that, we've got a tour coming up in Europe starting next February. But then once the album's out, try to tour as much as possible, do multiple tours, and really do a big plan around it. But for now, we're still touring until then. Got a few things coming up.
And then who are you on tour with in Europe?
With El Perro.
Oh, no, but I mean, are you packaged together with somebody else?
Oh, no. At this point, I think it's just on our own. Just playing with kind of different local bands and opening bands.
Right. So if bands are seeing El Perro, young bands, and you got to be fucking good out there, kids. If El Perro's coming through their town, man, to a club or a venue near them, they can have the potential to open up for you.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the shows are still kind of being sorted out.
Yeah. That's what my buddy used to do that I grew up with, man. He was in a thrash death metal type band when we were in high school. And he just used to call up the dive bar that all the death metal and thrash bands fucking played at, man. And they would mostly be looking to pick up local bands, man. I mean, he would get on and open for like huge bands. I mean, they don't care who's opening for them.
Nice.
But it looks good on the resume, though. Yeah. It looks good on the resume.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
That was when you had to take the initiative and actually call the places. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you really had the network. You know what I mean? There wasn't the luxury of the internet and stuff like that back then,
Yeah, I like that. That was cool. There was more personal connection.
Yeah. I can hear a lot of for me, and I don't know if fans will disagree about this, man, but in Radio Moscow, and I think when we were talking about the grunge thing a couple minutes ago, you even alluded to the fact of being a Nirvana fan, man. I feel like that bleeds into the music quite a bit, man. Is that deliberate, man? Like, would you say that Nirvana was impactful on your music?
Maybe not intentionally, but maybe the way I don't know. Kind of grew up with it. It bled in a little, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I think I see it more with the Radio Moscow stuff, and I think it's a little easier to kind of see it because it was a trio as well,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about all the genres in music, man? Seems like everyone thinks got to be put in like a nice, neat little box. I've heard you guys described as all kinds of different genres, man. I mean, do you ascribe to that? Do you consider your music able to be categorized in a certain genre?
Sort of, but I guess it's just kind of however you hear it. It doesn't need to be thrown into anything, but definitely we were influenced by certain genres, but you can kind of, it is what it is, I guess. Comes out how it is.
Yeah. Rock, blues, psychedelia. You hear all these terms. Some of them I don't even know what they mean. Sludge, doom. There's just there's terms coming at you left and right, man. I mean, everything has just been broken down. I talked to a lot of musicians in the metal world on here too, and now it's more than just heavy metal and death metal. It's it's deathcore. It's metalcore. It's all this hardcore. I mean, crossover. There's all these different genres. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
They've got to fit you into something.
Indeed. I guess it's, I don't know, easier for people to get an idea. They break it down. I don't know. But actually, my phone's going to die. I got to run down to my charger.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to keep talking or do you want to close up, man? It's up to you.
No, I can keep talking. I just got to switch rooms real quick and plug it in.
Man. Go ahead. Yeah, I for sure want to end it in a more proper way than just you rushing off like this. I mean,
I know. I thought I had enough battery, but no worries. I'll be right down.
It's happened numerous times during the podcast before with other guests.
Nice. Not the first.
No, definitely not the first. No, for sure not the first. A lot of people use their phone to do it. It's probably split half and half. Some people use the phone. Some people go on and actually use their laptop or their Chromebook or whatever, man. But that's what phones do, man. You're using them throughout the day, man. But they become. I mean, it used to be I'd be worried if I had my wallet on me, man. Now it's my phone. It's a phone era,
Yeah, become part of your body. Freak out if it's gone.
Yeah. It's like you need it. Yeah. Like everything you do is in there, man. You know what I mean? Like now I rely on to get up for work. It's my alarm clock. I check my mail. You can pay bills on there. I mean, order just about anything you want on there, man. The phone is like a indispensable tool suddenly.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. I'm thinking if I could throw it away for a little while and go to the mountains, if that'd even be possible. But I don't know if that's even possible anymore.
I know. Me and my wife are trying to be better at night about saying, look, man, like we need to just fucking detach from these things a little bit and actually have some conversation and actually pull your nose out of it,
Yeah. It's weird. It's getting weird with these things.
But I got to be in it a lot doing the podcast because I'm trying to schedule guests and everything, man. But I mean, nowadays, man, like they want you to do a lot on it, man. I mean, watching TV shows, watching movies, you know what I mean? Like, I read a lot of audio books on it. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to gear it so it literally does everything for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is taking over everything.
Now, do you feel like
weird and scary, but
now, do you feel pressure as a musician, man, to have some kind of a social media presence? Because it feels like nowadays, man, like bands, we're talking about the computer or the phone or whatever. They really have to implement and really harness the power of technology nowadays, man. Right? You kind of gotta go kicking and screaming, even if you don't want to. Right? I mean,
yep, it's all kind of changed that way, and you have to sort of play the game a little bit, and it helps get some exposure, but at the same time it doesn't seem like it's that much more helpful than what we were doing without it before.
Yeah, I know. Now it's all about followers, and you know what I mean, you got to have this and that, you know what I mean, like it's just it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and so many bands are even kind of just trying to make content or act in videos, and that part's getting weird.
Anything regardless of how desperate it might get. It might get desperate.
Yeah, it's getting desperate.
So I want to ask you if you have a definitive answer on this, man. You know, we got through the Mount Rushmore earlier, man. If I were to drop you off, man, Parker Griggs, drop you off on a desert island, man, and you can only take one desert island album with you, man, what album would it be? I guess essentially you're going to go on this desert island and die with this fucking thing, so you better make it a good one. Your desert island album.
Dang, that's a real tough one.
I don't know if I could do it either, man. Thank God I'm the one asking. Be tough. It'd be tough. I like you though, Parker. I'll let you have an artist whole discography, man. But is there at least an artist, man, that you'd want to listen to for the rest of your life?
It's a band called Shanti. Their album's amazing. I could listen to that forever.
Yeah. And die to it. Like music to die to.
Yeah, they're great. They mixed like traditional Middle Eastern instruments with regular guitars and bass and drums. They were like half Middle Eastern guys and half San Francisco guys, and it's like psychedelic rock meets traditional Middle Eastern. That album's really solid. I could listen to that forever.
Yeah, so you could take that with you, and you would be comfortable knowing that, hey, I'm going to die in this desert island, man, but I've got this album.
Yeah, it's got good enough vibes to last.
Well, because I guess it's kind of got to be like have like some different elements to it, man. You wouldn't want to be on this album on this island dying with this thing and not be ready for every single mood you could possibly imagine. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to just have one style of music all the way through. I'd want something that kind of kind of swung a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
You'd have to have something that would just be like, you know what I mean, like for introspection, and then like times when you felt maybe a little agitated. But like I wouldn't want to be out there with just metal or just or just hard rock or just this or just that. I would like something that would really take me on a journey. A guy the other day picked a great Elton John album, and I was like, oh, that's a good one for a desert island album. Pick one of the older ones that was just really an amazing album. I don't know. I wouldn't have an answer myself, man. I guess I'd go kicking and screaming with no music, which would be awful.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could pick just one album.
That'd be tough. But yeah, it depends if you have to listen to it constantly or not as well. I'd choose silence over one album constantly.
Yeah, you're probably right. Maybe some silence would be the order of the day. So since we're speaking of music, man, like, is there any name right now that comes to mind? Like when you think of any like new bands, is there anybody that was fairly current, man, that has you excited at all? Or can you not even name one?
Yeah, well, I kind of mentioned how I reached out to just sort of my favorite musicians. So actually a lot of projects connected to them are pretty nice. but I just had this drummer join named Jason. He's a really young kid, just 22, and he brought him out to Europe. It was his first tour with the band, first time being in Europe, first kind of time doing anything like that. It was pretty cool bringing him out there. He had a good time, but he's got a band that's just taken off right now, and they're called Magic Potion.
Okay.
They're located out of Baltimore, and their album's coming out in November. And yeah, they're doing some real sweet stuff. Just not too far away from kind of what I was doing with Moscow, or similar like old stuff with Blue Cheer, but it's a kind of heavy power trio.
Yeah, that's cool. And it helps, man, like when those bands can get their name shouted out into the ether, man. You know, even if it's, you know, regardless of how many eyes and ears it connects to, man. Like nowadays, it seems like even just one new fan can really, really mean a difference, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, they're cool.
Numbers count.
I was stoked on their sound and reached out to him because I dug what they were doing. And so he jumped on the tour, but I'm digging what they're doing. And
Magic Potion's a good band name, too. I like that.
yeah, it's cool. It's like based off of an old 60s kind of heavy psych rock song called Magic Potion.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like that tie-in. That's kind of neat, though. It's got to be tough naming a band, right? Like, did you ever experience any problems ever with band names, with like you like butting heads with somebody else that might have had that name?
Not really. You mean like naming your band name and somebody else already has it? Or?
Yeah. Well, Radio Moscow, there was not another Radio Moscow, right? I don't think there was a song called Radio Moscow, correct?
Maybe, I'm not sure. But
I don't think a band though, other than you guys.
there might have been like in the 80s that released like a single or something, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Nowhere. Yeah.
Nothing that caused any trouble, but yeah, band names are weird. It's like having to come up with some strange name to put to your music. I don't know. Stranger than naming a kid, probably.
And then hope you don't get a cease and desist. Hey, this name's taken. That sucks too. So to wrap this up, man, new music 2025, man. Expect some new El Perro music, man. So there's that to look forward to. That was the other thing I wanted to ask you before I let you go. And I don't know how much of this you feel comfortable talking about, man. But now I have to ask because we've been talking for such a long time, and you do seem like such a laid back, mellow, roll with the punches kind of guy. But yet in 2012, you had an altercation with a guy in your band. I couldn't see you being in an altercation with a guy in a band.
Yeah,
you're a pretty mellow cat.
Yeah, but maybe he wasn't. I don't know, but no,
okay.
It was different times. I don't know. That was a long story, but it was not definitely not expected like that, and pretty disappointing. Kind of drove across America to go do a tour, and then guys were gonna bail on the tour right before we were meeting up with Graveyard to go out and everything. So it's a long story, but I do feel like I was kind of screwed over in that situation, honestly.
Okay. Fair enough. That was why I wanted to ask, man. If there was any air clearing, or for people that are fans that might see very vague details of that or whatever, man, and not really understand like what happened there. And of course, it's all at liberties as to what you're willing to discuss anyway, man. I certainly would respect the fact of anything you want to talk to or speak on it about, but just seems like, having talked to you now for the better part of an hour, man, that you don't seem like a very confrontational guy, man. But I guess for people out there that are musicians and in bands, it is a certain extent a very difficult relationship, almost like a marriage.
Yeah, and it was kind of a different situation to where like half the band was leaving to start a new band, so there was some frustrations, and it was but since then, you know, everybody's moved on and there's no harsh feelings. And at the time, I think I don't know, we were all pretty young, and it was, yeah, it's a long story. I don't even want to get into the details, but we're all.
I mean, I've chalked up a lot of stuff to the foolishness of youth. You know what I mean? You could just pretty much leave that as a disclaimer right there. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we're different people when we're younger, you know?
Yeah, well,
We just are.
I mean, if you drove across America to start a tour and your band quit on the first day, I think and yeah, you'll never know unless you were there.
Yeah. But I get your frustration though, man. And again, for people that do know that band dynamic, it can be a difficult dichotomy, you know, juggling different personalities. And, you know, I mean, it happens in any working relationship, you know?
Yeah. So I'm real stoked on this latest lineup. Everybody seems to work well together and mature, and yeah, so it's taking some time. It takes a long time to find the right people to play music with, but I'm really stoked right now with these guys.
So when you're putting together a new El Perro album, man, like what do you use as far as like your motivation to write? Like where do you seem to draw inspiration from? Is it a books, movies, you know, watching movies or pulling stuff off the news? You know what I mean? Are you topical like that? Like where do you draw the most inspiration from?
Just kind of everyday life and writing about what's on your mind, and sort of just using it as a form of therapy to get out shit that's stuck inside. And so it's more just like a personal thing, and music's a way of expression, I guess, for
no doubt. Yeah. I'm not even a musician, man, but I could kind of just knowing, even just from a fan standpoint of listening to it, how cathartic it is, you know? I mean,
yeah,
you know, it's a release.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, man, I appreciate how generous you've been with your time, man. I'm glad we got a chance to do this, man, and make this happen, man. For sure, stay in touch, man. When the new album's about to come out, man, hop on here and we'll do it again, man.
That sounds cool. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, for sure. Fucking stay in touch, man. And I love what you do, man. I'm a fan, man. I always like to let the artists that I have on here know that I have them on for a reason, man. You know, I mean, I dig what you do, man. So just letting you know from a fan, man, it's appreciated, man.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for having me. And thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Stay in touch, man. I'll have the episode up probably within the next couple of days. I'll send you a link. You can share it around wherever you want. It helps you, helps me, whatever, man. You know, I appreciate it, man. But I really appreciate you doing it, though, man. Thanks, man. It was really good talking to you, bro.
You too. Thanks for having me.
All right. Yeah, appreciate it, Parker. We'll talk again, my friend.
Sounds good. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Yep, you too, brother. Later. There he goes, folks. Parker Griggs. You might know him from Radio Moscow and El Perro. That is his latest project, as you heard. Radio Moscow, kind of on the back burner, it sounds right now. He sounds a little more lukewarm on that, man. But El Perro, their last album, 2019, Hair of, which is an amazing album. A little bit of a departure from what he did in Radio Moscow. As he said, a little more percussion, a little more funk, a little more soul, and a little more rhythm infused into this music, man. Still kick ass though, man. Go check out whatever Parker Griggs does, man. Dude could play his ass off, man. And a good dude, man. Quiet, reserved, humble, willing to have a laugh on here. All in all, a good guest. Wouldn't you say, Freddie Mercury Puppet? You ain't gonna say nothing anyway. So, but definitely go check out Radio Moscow. Their last album was New Beginnings in 2017. Great vibe, man. You'll be happy that I hipped you to them. And go check out El Perro. I'm gonna say it with a little crackle on there. El Perro. Put a little pizzazz in there, man. ELPERRO. El Perro, which, as he's mentioned, means the dog. And I like that, man. And go check out the first album that they did, Hair of, and expect new music from El Perro as Parker Griggs said, early 2025. I appreciate him doing it. The only other fantastic musician from Iowa, apparently, Slipknot and Parker Griggs. We couldn't fucking think of another one. So if you're an Iowan musician, let us know, man. We forgot about you. But it is, as he pointed out, the place where the day the music died, where we lost Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, Richie Valens, in that awful plane crash, Clearwater, Iowa. So it does have its ties to rock and roll history. But thank you to Parker Griggs. Really appreciate having him on here. Go check out Radio Moscow. Go check out El Perro. Keep checking us out here, because this is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Uncle Rexx. No place else. So make sure to stay tuned in, like and follow us on Facebook, and like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on this channel. Stay tapped in, man. New content every week. Always awesome conversations, man, happening right here in Pod Scum. So as I like to say when I end these little episodes is, remember to take it easy and do keep it sleazy.